All right, here is the Q-Torch spinning machine for doing y'all slips. And we want to just start off by showing you the machine and some of its ways of how to set it up and some of the electrical controls that we have on it and so on. And so we're going to start off here in the place where you load your part. So in this case, we're set up for this size part. This is the 561, and this is the mandrel that's made. We call it a mandrel. It's there to hold your part, and it's basically attached or screwed into this shaft right here that stays part of this whole thing. Talk about that in a minute. So now your part is set on here, and when we go over here to our controls, in the manual, we go to settings, we can extend and retract those head or the torches. So we push both of them, bring them in, and if you're setting up for a new part, you're able to loosen these plates right here, and this whole torch system slides in and out. So for different diameter parts, that's how you'll set the torch for the different diameter parts. Also, we can move these heads up and down so that the flame ports actually impinge on this part at the right place, because what we have are flame ports that basically heat each one of these wickers, and so that's a critical thing, to have a certain height. And so you can set that by a straight edge coming across here, and just knowing what your distance is from the bottom of that straight edge to the top of your part. And we'll be able to get that setting established. We've already done it, we just don't know what it is yet, for each head, so that you'll have that information. We're going to put a measuring tape along here with a line, so that we'll know where each part needs to be as far as this goes too. And so that's how we got it all done to set up. Now, just to explain the setups for the different size parts, we have a different manual. We'll have a manual for each of the different sizes. In this case, it's the 609, and so this part fits on this mandrel. So basically, you take that mandrel off, put this mandrel on, and you're and now you have the part set up for rotating it, and then you do the position of flame heads. In this case, this particular part uses the same flame head as the 561. So, but if you're going, say, to this one, which is a 771, and we have its own mandrel right here that we made, and that fits on that, but it has a different quantity of wickers, and so we have different flame heads for that. Now, showing you the flame head, this is the top, and so you can see that the number of flame ports are different. What happens is the middle seems to heat up quicker than the outside, so we put more flame ports. And now that was established, when we did these, each one of these parts, when we heated them up. So you'll have to switch out the heads, switch out the mandrel, and then do your adjusting up and down and in and out.
Mandrel over.
What now?
The mandrel, turn that over.
Oh, and then to show you the bottom of the mandrel, you can see we're locating the center using this counterbore, and that's what gives you, put it on center. These 4 holes are really only there to lighten up this mandrel, to make it lighter, but also so that water can flow through also too. So that's all they're for. So now, looking at the controls, go back to the main screen, but first let's see, they're extended. So we'll retract them, go back to the main screen, and in this screen we have a system of recipes for each part. And this is what the recipe screen looks like. And this area right here is where we change all the different parameters in it. So, we can change heat time and so on, but we've already established, for the 561, what the heat time is, the quench time, the number of torches, how fast it spins, and what the flow of the fuel and oxygen is. So, you basically, you can go and change your recipe. So what happens is, if you save this, well, if you go right back to main, you can see that the current recipe is 561, and it's recipe number 2. So now if we go back to recipes and you want to change to, say, the 771, and we go back to main, you can see that the current recipe has changed. So when you run the part, it's going to run it the way this recipe is set up, which is 165 seconds heat time, 60 seconds quench time, because it's all bigger and so on, higher flows and so on. And so that's how you can keep track of all your settings for all the different parts that you're doing. And since this part is I'm going to go back, make sure I don't forget. This is a part that's on there now, so when we run this part, it will use that recipe right there. So this box here gives us the running heat time. So it'll count down. It counts up for your heat time setting, and then this gives you the part temperature when it goes down into the quench. Now, why these are these odd numbers is because what you're able to do in automatic is you hit the stop button while you're heating, and it will go through its quench cycle. So if you want to set up a new part, for example, you can use your heat that you want, and when you see the heat that you want, you can hit stop, and it'll capture your time. So when you do your recipe, you'll be able to put that in the recipe, and you'll have your time set up for that. Manual, just real quickly, in the manual mode, you can go to your settings, you can put the table up and down, you can retract and extend the torches, and you can turn the turntable to spin, and that gives you your current RPM.
Which you can set there.
You can set the RPM with this. So going back to main, this is giving you your quench temperature, and we'll get into that when we start showing you the rest of the machine. We have a probe in there, so we know what our quench temperature is, which is important to know when you're doing your parts. This is a counter. You can zero it, start over again, and every time you're done with a part, you'll know how many you've done. If you want to start fresh, with a run, you'll know how many that you've run. So then over here are the controls for the flows of the fuel and oxygen. And so you got now, torch number 1, fuel and oxygen, torch number 2, fuel and oxygen. This is how you actually control or make more or less of the flow of oxygen and fuel. And that's what you'll do whenever you're changing heads. If the particular head has a different, like if you go to the recipes, that's what this is. This is only for reference. So in this case, these are already set for 80, and these are already set for 130. And so up here you have pressure gauges. It's very important that those pressure gauges read 30 and 50, because these numbers here are set for those particular pressures. And that's while the part is running. Right now you can see it's almost a 60, but we're running at 50 while the part's running. So, and here are the regulators that can set that pressure. That's something that once it's set, you should never have to deal with. But it's always a good idea to take a look and making sure that those pressures are still in that same place when you're running over time. So that's how you control the flows of your torch, which is very critical to make sure you have the right heat time and all that kind of stuff. So now on the back of the machine, I just want to show you what we got back here that's controlling different things. First of all, this is the optical pyrometer that is doing the measuring of the parts. And it's got a laser aim. You can take this off and make sure it's aimed in the right place, and it's already set up to give you the correct temperature of the part as far as where it's being used. This is a box that has all of our air solenoids in it, so nice and protected and clean. And this item down here is a hydraulic system. This table that is sitting inside the thing that makes this go up and down is a hydraulic scissor lift table. So the hydraulics obviously are bringing the head the table up and down, and that's the system that's doing it right there. This is what we call an quench agitation pump. This is running constantly in automatic. What it's doing is it's moving the quench and also directing the quench towards the part with piping that we have on the inside. So I don't know if you can see that in there, but we have fittings in there to direct that quench towards the part. And it also, what it does is it comes through this heat exchanger and then comes out, obviously, and then through the heat exchanger and into these tubes. So the chilled water that I'll get to in a minute is going on the other side of this heat exchanger. So this is how we're keeping the quench from going too hot over time. If you're doing a big one-day production or something like that and you need to pull heat out, that's what this is about. And this is the spin motor for spinning the part. It's a chain and sprocket way of doing things, and something we've been doing for 50 years, this kind of machine, and it's been working out really well. And then these are the proc switches, one for down, well, this is for up obviously, and this one's for down. So it always goes in the same position. And if for some reason you want to change that position, come up a little bit more, down a little bit more, or whatever, you can move these flags. You shouldn't never have to move the flag down, but if you want it to come up to and come to a different position when it comes up, you can adjust this flag right here and change that position. Okay, so then the last thing I want to talk about is this chiller that actually is a used chiller that we've had here in the shop for a while. It's undersized for a couple of jobs that we've done, and it's always come back. And so it's a used chiller, but it's also been refurbished. So this was not in the quote, but I'm basically contributing this to you guys to act as a way to keep chilled water going through the flame heads. Those flame heads need to be cooled, and to be used as heat exchange for the quench when it becomes warm after doing a lot of parts. So essentially, your supply and return for working with the heat exchanger are right here, and then this is the supply return for the cooling in the heads. And I don't know, Ralph, you want to show the controls for the chiller is right here. All right. I think that's it.
I'll stop it.